Hey, I'm Mary.
And I'm Jake.
And you're listening to The Fly Angle, the official RDU Airport podcast. Thanks for tuning into The Fly Angle. Welcome back, Jake. I missed you.
It's good to be back. Stephanie did a great job for episode 17, but yeah, it's always nice to be back in the studio with you, Mary.
We joked around the last time because you always know all the facts, codes, data, historical figures, and she and I just kind of had a moment of looking at each other like, oh, where's Jake?
That's all right.
And Jake, I got to travel with you. You know, we talk about our different tips for travel and where we like to sit, and I actually got to travel with you, so I got to observe your immediate run to get coffee. I was like, hey Jake,
we've
Jake.
joked about it on past episodes, but now that Mary and I have gotten to fly together, she's seen my coffee neuroses, I guess.
Totally.
My innate need for an aisle seat.
Totally. And like you got to see, you know, my pet peeves, and I'm still stuck, and maybe some of our listeners can kind of fill me in about when there's an open seat in the row. Do you move or do you stay put? Because I'm compelled to tell people to move. Please kindly just fill in that seat over there and give us some space between us.
Yeah, I'd love to hear from some listeners on maybe some of those unwritten rules, etiquette rules of flying.
Seriously.
And maybe we'll cover them in a future episode. But that's the one you're mentioning of if there's two people in a 3-seat row, do you leave the seat in the middle open? And as you found, not everybody adheres to the unwritten rule of etiquette. I'm like, I'm going to have to school you. But then I'm like, no, Mary, you work for the airport. Like, just stay in your seat and calm. But it's happened twice in most recent flights. That and like people darting to the front of the plane as soon as you land. Yeah. So Mary and I were in Albuquerque, New Mexico at Albuquerque's Sunport ABQ. Although we now know that it's just the Sunport.
The Sunport.
At an industry conference. I got to meet with some of our peers from great airports, Dallas-Fort Worth, Tampa, PDX, Jacksonville, you name it, they were there. It was really a great conference. We're going to talk about that in some upcoming episodes of ours, including some interviews that we can't really tell you about just yet, but some really exciting ones with other airports. So Albuquerque,
the food, the culture, I just had a great time. What was your one takeaway about your visit to Albuquerque?
Mine was probably to enjoy the green chili. It's the state question, red or green chili, or Christmas, as they joke. I am a green chili kind of guy, but it's also to moderate and not just have green chili with every single
meal
dish the entire week.
I won't talk about you, but I'm with you on that green chili, and the food there was just so good. But I saw you consume a lot of it.
So while I was there, I was able to listen to the last episode, the interview you guys had with Mike Schoenfeld from Duke University. That was great.
Yeah, he is just a really dynamic individual. Like, he's so passionate about the aviation industry. He's a champion for this region and for RDU specifically. So we had a lot of fun picking his brain and learning. He's a little bit of an av geek.
He is.
Yeah.
He is. I did not fully realize that, but I have an appreciation for that now.
Yeah.
If you haven't listened to that interview, it's episode 17. Just go one back. Really insightful to see how I'd call it a power user. So really higher education, which obviously if you have spent any time in the Research Triangle of North Carolina, you know that higher education is critically important here. How do those institutions of higher learning interact with air travel? Right. It's just a really interesting thought. We've talked about it in past episodes about how major companies have influenced certain flights, like the American to London flight, relying on British-based companies. And now here looking to see, like, you know, when you think about Duke, NC State, UNC, and, you know, just how their daily aviation needs really support the airport and vice versa in such a big way.
Yeah, definitely. And our guest today should be pretty cool too.
Yeah. If you have ever thought about a job at an airport, this is going to be an interview you won't want to miss. So stick around for it.
Definitely. So, Jake, I saw a couple airmail questions come in your absence, but I know you picked a really cool one, so let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's dive in. Our airmail question this episode comes from Shelly F. Shelly asks, I would love to know what goes into direct flight decisions from RDU. Is it mostly the airline that decides that, or does RDU have input to that? Really, we could spend a whole episode talking about air service recruitment. In fact, we did. If you go back and listen to episode 2, our guest interview was all about air service recruitment, incentives, marketing, really kind of an insightful discussion. That's a deep dive, but we can answer it kind of at a high level right now. So let's just we'll take it at a high level here. So first off, airlines set their own flight schedules. They're responsible for their own individual flight schedule including what airports they serve, when, and how frequently, and even with which aircraft. So if I'm an airline route planner at Delta or American or Frontier, those are all kind of axes and data points that I have to consider when I'm plotting the schedule out. So what aircraft do I have available? How many seats does it hold? Where are we going to fly them out of? Do we have the staff for it? Airports partner and collaborate with those airlines. Obviously, we have 14 airline partners here. And we're excited to share some more about that with you here very shortly in the episode. But, they're asking us questions like, at your airport, is there capacity available? What about operational constraints? Are there gates that are out of commission temporarily? There's a lot of construction happening here.
Right.
Other special considerations are prevalent too, like international gates and custom space availability. We've had a big influx this year of international flights, and those flights are completely dependent on, do you have international gates available? Is your customs facility prepared to take that many? Like, what if all those flights arrive at the same time?
Right.
Is there going to be a line out to the apron?
We don't want that. And as you alluded to before, Jake, airports also represent their community. So for us, it's a recruitment effort. You've heard us talk about this in previous episodes. We work with tourism boards, the business community, and others get involved. And that's how we successfully attracted Delta's Paris flight, as well as Iceland's Reykjavik flight, for example.
Yeah. It really is a team effort. Airlines and airports are two major players, but it really takes the entire community to get particularly a major flight off the ground. And certainly lately we have been trying some different techniques, an incentive program that first incentive program helped to secure the Reykjavik flight. We've launched another new incentive program with even higher ambitions. We want to make sure we can go to the places that you want to fly. So.
Exactly. And to just the changing dynamic of the aviation industry and the travelers, we allude to the new bleisure traveler.
Right. The bleisure traveler.
Right.
My favorite word to say.
Seasonal routes. So all of that, it's just puzzle pieces that come together. And it's just pretty cool how so many different stakeholders can come together to meet the community need, demand, and then build the infrastructure around it.
Yeah. Great question, Shelley. We appreciate it.
We do appreciate that, Shelley.
You want to get into some headlines, Mary?
Let's do it. So the busy summer travel season has come to a close for RDU and other airports around the U.S. And with that, passenger volume is expected to slow down at least through the holidays.
Yeah, so we talked about the bleisure traveler. So 2022 has been a leisure with a capital L, driven year for us all year. This is kind of one of those interesting dynamics that has come out of the pandemic and has persisted prior to 2020. We're slightly tilted towards business flyers as an origin and destination type airport. Now we're seeing a ton of leisure travel where we didn't before. And, this time of year, people are going back to school. Your summer vacations are ending. People are kind of hunkering down with work. And there's a little bit of a valley of travel between now and the busy holiday season, obviously, which is one of our biggest mountaintops, I guess. If this is the valley, that will be the peak.
True.
It will be very interesting, though, in the fall to kind of observe that business flyer activity. You mentioned the bleisure traveler. We have a lot of eyeballs, and not only just RDU, but all airports in the U.S. are really going to be looking at those business flyers this fall to say, all right, this is like the cleanest read we can get on recovery from an economics perspective. Are they coming back? How quickly are they coming back?
Yes, definitely. And there's still plenty to get excited about, Jake, including a couple new international destinations coming up in November. Super excited about this. RDU will see nonstop flights launch to Cancun, Mexico, and Freeport in the Bahamas.
All right.
Let's go.
I could go to those places. That sounds good to me. Just a little detail on those. American will fly nonstop Cancun beginning November 5th. That's my birthday, Mary.
Oh.
I think I know what I'm doing for my birthday
Celebration.
now. Freeport will be served by RDU's newest airline partner, Bahamas Air. I mentioned earlier that we had 14 airline partners, and that's our 14th, starting in November. That flight will connect onward to Nassau, which is likely where you're going if you're going to the Bahamas. I've been to Nassau, loved it.
Yes.
Never got the chance to fly there, but I might have to change that now. And one last addition to the schedule, our friends at Avelo, who, if you recall, they just launched their debut service in May. They will be adding their second nonstop at RDU soon. The new airline will fly to Fort Myers, Florida, beginning November 10th. So warm season ahead of us.
I like it. Well, finally, with all that activity comes some important new construction around the airport. RDU launched several improvement projects, and that could impact your next visit to the airport. So pay attention.
Let's unpack these a little bit. The first one, I think a lot of people who listen to this podcast have heard us talk about runway preservation and replacement of our primary runway 5 left, 23 right. We are resuming the preservation work on that runway, talking about it in previous episodes. If you recall, what we're basically doing is laying down concrete slabs overnight. So the runway will close after the wide bodies activity on a daily basis. Those concrete slabs will get poured in and essentially baked into the runway. The runway reopens just in time the next day for the wide body activity and then closes, and then you repeat the process. That's going to be really exciting and very important. That runway is nearing the end of its useful life, and we have to do this work in order to keep it running while we continue the process simultaneously of working towards eventually replacing it. We're really excited about that, but you have to do both at the same time.
Yes.
So on the other side of the airport, we've also begun closing the departure level curb at Terminal 2 for roadway maintenance.
Right.
If you are familiar with Terminal 2 as you're approaching by car on John Brantley Boulevard, the upper levels departures kind of peel off to the right, or you stay to the left on the fork and you go downstairs to the arrivals level.
Right.
The upper level, that departure level, now is closed for maintenance to the roadway. You can continue to use the lower arrivals level. The pedestrian walkway upstairs from the parking garage is still open. This work will be going on until pretty close to Thanksgiving, but we'll wrap before the Thanksgiving holiday.
Good.
Yeah. And then last but not least, NCDOT is doing some work at I-40, Interstate 40, and Airport Boulevard. That's exit 284, which is one of the two exits that serves RDU.
Right.
They're closing the interchanges at Airport Boulevard and 40 to make some improvements to those. Drivers can just follow detour signage and use the nearby Aviation Parkway exit. That's 285, so just one exit down.
Right. So much happening here at the airport. You can always visit our website, rdu.com.
And one last headline that just came across the wire as we're recording this. J.D. Power has come out with their annual customer satisfaction rankings for airports from mega, large, and medium sizes. And RDU, again, is in the top 5 for large airports for customer satisfaction. We are finished tied for 4th with Louis Armstrong Airport, MSY in New Orleans. So
yes.
Exciting to be in good company. I think Tampa took the top spot in the rankings this year. Congrats to TPA crew. But we are very pleased to be in the top 5 in the country.
Second year in a row. I love it. Congrats to everybody here at the airport and to everybody that visits and participated in that survey. We've got more to come.
Yeah. Over the past couple of years, employers have experienced big shifts in how they attract and retain workforce talent. That's definitely the case in aviation as well. Joining us in the studio today is RDU's Director of Recruiting, Kirsten Nicholas. Kirsten, welcome to the pod.
Thanks. I'm really excited to be here.
We're certainly glad to have you join us as well. And you're relatively new to RDU, and we're glad that you're on our team now. Can you just tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into the world of recruiting, and then what landed you here at RDU?
Sure. Well, that's definitely a loaded question. I don't want to date myself by telling you how old I am, but I've spent my entire career in recruiting and candidate development. So I started at universities by helping students figure out what they wanted to do with their lives and helping them get into the workforce, and transitioned into recruiting for Fortune 500 companies, and then healthcare for a while. And now here I am at RDU. I actually wasn't looking when RDU found me on LinkedIn and reached out, and we started a conversation, and here I am.
Landing here at an airport, is that a huge change, or do you feel like you've seamlessly transitioned into the world of aviation?
I think every industry has its differences and has its challenges, but the concept of recruiting is very similar across any industry. So transferable skills are definitely there for myself and the recruiters who are on my team.
Cool. So I mentioned at the top of the interview that the world has changed a lot in the past couple of years, especially when it comes to job seeking. Tell us what's trending in recruiting right now. How does the Airport Authority attract workforce talent today?
That's a great question. Recruiting has changed a lot in the last few years, especially since the pandemic and the Great Resignation and where we stand today with businesses coming back and talent being challenging to find. But regardless of that, RDU is really focused on being able to find candidates that are committed to the organization and our values. It's not just about what skills do you have that match or mimic the job that we're posting, but are you the right culture fit and do you have the right value set to match the organizations?
So it starts at culture and works outward.
Correct.
So it's not first about what you can do, it's more about, are you aligned with us as, our organizational beliefs and value set, and then second or third even, tell me about your skill set.
Yeah, I think skills definitely hold a place on the resume, for example, right? I'm a plumber. I know how to plumb things. I'm an electrician. I know how to wire things. Those are skills that you develop over time. But, if you have two plumbers that are equally skilled in their trade and one is a better culture match than another, that's how you recruit. That's where you end up finding your talent.
Let's build along those lines of the specialized trades. That's an area that not only RDU, but many businesses are in need of qualified talent. Can you share what specific trades here at RDU have openings now and others that you anticipate needing to fill in the future?
Sure. Right now, we are looking for plumbers. We are looking for HVAC, electrical, equipment operators.
So a lot of maintenance.
A lot of maintenance kind of roles. We also have our accredited police department and our fire department who have roles. And then, of course, we have traditional roles that people don't usually think of in airports. A lot of people, and myself included, before I started working here, I thought, oh, you work for the airline, you work for a concessionaire in the airport, you work in the terminal. I didn't think about all the back end that happens to make an airport run.
Exactly.
So all of those trades that we can think of, plus, of course, more traditional roles in corporate America exist here.
That's good stuff.
This seems like a good place to plug. If you haven't seen our careers page on RDU.com before, it's just RDU.com/careers. You can find out while you're listening to the pod today what job openings we have. You can read about those core values and just kind of get a sense of what it's like to work here.
Exactly. We often talk about the airport operating like a small city on the podcast. It comes up over and over. So if you envision a small city and all the different roles and different responsibilities here at the airport, they're mimicked, like you said, in our community, and opportunity is blooming. We're growing, I think everyone here today was recruited and didn't really know that there was opportunity at the airport. So turn your volume up and go to RDU.com because we've got some great opportunities.
Yeah, I'm really glad you mentioned growth because that is absolutely where we're headed. We have a workforce that's been fairly steady over the last few years, and we really are looking to grow this year as well as the next. One of the things I'm working on is our 3-year recruiting plan, and it's not stopping.
Would you say it's tied to enplanements so that the passenger growth over time?
Absolutely. Definitely passenger growth as well as the growth of the facilities here at the airport in order to meet those employment needs. So
let's dive in a little bit more. We talked about culture. I want to kind of unpack that a bit more. You and your team are really helping to create and support the culture of RDU and the value set. Could you describe it a little bit to, say, I'm a prospective candidate? Like, what is our culture?
So we start with those values. We've got 5 core values: teamwork, respect, integrity, learning, and excellence. But I would describe it as an outsider coming in that I have seen firsthand the amount of collaboration that happens here at the airport and really the team environment that is necessary in order to function at a very high level. The other thing that I have really noticed coming in just in the last 6 months is how people perform at such a high level here at the airport. We have brilliant people working here doing amazing work on behalf of the community, and I never would have imagined that as an outsider coming in.
I can only add an exclamation mark to that. I totally concur. So many different operations, and it's just a dynamic place that I'm just amazed by the level of brilliance of so many people here in Team RDU. Definitely.
I agree.
Let's talk about kind of getting in the door. Are there standard or minimal requirements to work here at RDU? And for example, are there entry-level jobs available at the authority? And then the same thing for administrative level positions?
Sure. So every job has a different requirement as far as the minimum level of experience or education required. We do have everything from high school diploma and GED all the way up through master's degrees preferred here at the airport. Some roles have 0 years of experience required, like a traffic control officer or a parking operations coordinator. Others have guest experience roles that require, customer service experiences or retail experiences where you're dealing with customers directly. And then, of course, in our more traditional corporate roles, you've got everything from, a bachelor's degree for a business analyst up to a master's degree for a director and everything in between.
Yeah.
And one thing, I kind of discovered this, my career path is similar to yours in that I came to aviation at RDU and not before, that you don't necessarily have to have an aviation background in some of these roles, right?
No.
So some of them, I think a lot of people, you mentioned earlier about the misconception of whenever you see somebody at the airport, they have to work for RDU. They don't think about, it's probably an airline employee or a baggage handling group or somebody with a federal agency. They all have obviously different career paths of their own, but you don't have to have an aviation background to work here, right?
No, absolutely not. I think one of the key components of being successful in aviation is passion for the work that you're doing, and potentially passion for travel and tourism and the industry that we serve. But I also think there's a community aspect that's really important. Mm-hmm. One of the things that really surprised me when coming to RDU was learning how tied to the community we are and how much our business is driven by the community. That work is really inspiring to me, and I think inspiring to other people who are here. And so it's not just about your background.
I think I found something similar too. I always talk about all the operations going on here at the airport, but I often find myself on collaborative teams where I'm learning about environmental factors that go into building a runway, or, I'm sitting next to Jake because he's deploying all these different digital media strategies. And I'm like, wow. And then I see him out on the airfield coordinating with ops for a video shoot, or, learning about systems and structures or the policies that are in place, because how many federal entities do we have here on campus?
Just about all of them.
I mean, everyone,
sometimes
it's
it feels
like a trick
just
question,
about all
but
of them.
for real, there are so many different rules and regulations and guidelines that we have to abide by. But just the opportunity to learn and grow is tremendous here, and I've experienced that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned earlier about kind of being surprised by some of the things you learned. On that same thread, tell us about something people might not know about recruiting for an airport like RDU.
I think recruiting for an airport is a unique opportunity because you really are connecting back to the community, but you're also providing a hidden gem. I mean, people don't know or don't realize that the airport is like a small community, as you said, or a small city, and that
Right.
we have everything necessary to run a city. And because of that, people don't search out our career site necessarily. But then when they see it, they're intrigued. So I definitely think working for an airport is a hidden gem in the recruiting world. I also think that we have all the same positions that any large Fortune 500 company would have. We really are able to compete and provide amazing opportunities for long-term employment.
Good stuff. One last question, Kirsten. As RDU grows in passenger employments, like you mentioned, and we start to roll out capital projects under the Vision 2040 Airport Master Plan, what does that mean for the authority's future staffing needs? Like where are we headed?
It means just that continued growth. As we grow in employments, as we grow the amount of planes that come in or the size of the planes that come in or different things in that 2040 master plan, we're projecting significant growth. So, we might be at, 312 employees today, hopefully 390 by the end of the year.
Oh, wow.
And who knows what the rest of the year looks like.
Wow.
That is growth.
And we do some staff augmentation, but there are authority roles, and I don't want to miss the opportunity to also talk about our partners here on campus.
Sure.
There are other positions here where if you have a certain expertise or specialty and have an interest in aviation, that whether it's a concessionaire and our new business operator model, or if it's work on the runway, construction, paving, there's a lot.
Absolutely. There's definitely roles that exist within the airlines, within the concessionaires, as you mentioned, and then the airport authority itself. And I do think that there's a good amount of crossover that happens between airline employees or other folks that work in the airport terminals who may be interested in coming to work for the airport authority, or vice versa. Definitely amazing opportunities to get involved in a lot of different ways.
That's great. So I'm a candidate. I'm excited. Where do I go from here? How do I get in touch with you?
So the best way to get in touch is definitely through our website, to go to rdu.com/careers, find something that matches your interests and experience, and go ahead and submit that application. If you don't find something on that website that you're looking for, you can also follow us on our social media handles, and I partner very closely with Jake for job-related comments or questions. He passes to me and I respond.
There you go. Shameless plug for the social media accounts.
Yeah,
Appreciate it, Kirsten.
we need to hire
You're
her.
welcome.
Thanks again for being on the podcast today.
Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
All right. So now I think I already have a job at the airport, but I really want one after hearing Kirsten talk about
Right?
what it's like to work here. I will reiterate what she said. If you are ever interested in working at the airport, this is a great time to do it. Skate to www.rdu.com/careers. You can obviously find out about Airport Authority careers there, as well as the ones for our business partners. We're all hiring. So
There's a lot of opportunity, and now is the time.
yeah, and I know there's
Definitely.
a lot of av geeks here, a lot of people who are interested in the operations side of the business. We have a ton of jobs there, but it's not just operations. It's maintenance. It's
Everything. Small
finance.
city, think of small city. There's a job for it here at RDU.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, we want to hear from you still. Submit your airmail questions to us at communications@rdu.com.
And while you're at it, just make sure you're following us on Instagram at @FlyRDU, or on Twitter or Facebook at @RDU Airport.
We appreciate you listening to The Fly Angle. Take care.
See ya. Wheels up.